The movie begins in a beautiful mountainous city in India, with a girl, Chavi Chauhan, in her school uniform, standing on the podium. She is there to present a composition, Run Away With You, written by her. As she delivers the beautiful words, everyone listens mesmerized and bursts into applause after she ends. Later, all the students can be seen talking in the hallway. When Chavi remembers that she forgot her diary in the auditorium, she rushes inside to get it, and a sad melody plays in the background. With the diary in her hand, she runs outside, sits in a quiet place, and starts reading. The scene then switches to a man looking out of his full-length floor-to-ceiling window at the city lights twinkling below. He seems to be in deep thought. In the hustling and bustling city of Kolkata, India, a man's voice echoes from the radio, and almost every citizen is listening to him speak. His voice, carrying beautiful words, floats around the city. We are then taken to the radio station, from where his show, Kuch Piga Alfaz, is going live. The host RJ Alfaz has a very heartfelt voice, and he hosts an episodic series of unrequited love stories. And everyone tunes in at 10 p.m. every night to listen to him. On the other hand, in the city, we see a woman listening to Kuch Piga Alfaz while riding to her destination. She is Archana, one of his many fans. As he takes a break, she also reaches her destination to meet a blind date. She gets to the cafe they were supposed to meet at and finds the man waiting for him. He is picking his nose, and she snaps a picture. Coincidentally, Alfaz's show is also going on in the cafe. The man is shocked to see her and stutters. As Alfaz resumes his show, Archana can be seen heading back home. She, being a devoted fan, even asks the driver to stop outside Alfaz's office, only to look at it from afar, not getting the motivation to step inside. After some time, Archana tells the driver to move. The inside of the office is still very alive. Priyanka, one of Alfaz's colleagues, can be seen stressing over the fact that she has so much pressure from the main office in Mumbai to get a specific task done. It turns out that they want to run a contest, and the winner will go on a dinner date with Alfaz. But he says no since he prefers to stay detached and anonymous. Priyanka is annoyed because she believes that his fans deserve to know who is the man behind the voice. But like always, he is against the idea. The scene then shifts to Archana, lying on the bed. She is a pretty girl, but has a skin condition, leukoderma. She lies there listening to the end credits of Kuch Piga Alfaz, with a small smile spreading on her face. She thanks her friend Apu for recording the whole episode for her. In response, he just tells her that they should get back to work now. They start skimming through some pictures she took, looking for the perfect one. It turns out that they work at a creative agency that designs branded memes. They edit the picture they found worthy, which is of his blind date picking his nose, and this is when his mom's voice echoes. She calls him out for dinner and later starts knocking on his door. Sensing the upcoming danger, Archana leaves from the back door. The next morning, Alfaz can be seen sitting out at a tea stall, petting his dog Casper. Casper is a stray dog, but Alfaz loves him dearly. Alfaz sits outside the stall calmly, with no fear of anyone recognizing him. Meanwhile, Archana's blind date from the previous night finds his phone blowing off with notifications. It turns out that his meme has gone viral. The scene switches to Alfaz interviewing a woman, and notifications then narrating her story at his own show. After the show ends, he goes back to his empty home and sleeps. The next day, Archana and Apu are sitting in the meeting room as their boss roasts them. Their boss is angry since she removed the watermark from the meme she created the other day. He tells her that they have no room for her creativity and that she should put the watermark back. After the meeting ends, Archana leaves annoyed. That night, as Alfaz's voice travels through the air, Archana listens to it while lying on her bed. The heartbreaking story Alfaz narrates makes her cry. On the other hand, Alfaz can also be seen listening to his recording. The next morning, Apu arrives at Archana's place and finds her stalking the profile of their boss. It turns out she has made a fake page to troll him. This is when she gets a notification about another blind date. A shadow crosses over Apu's face, and he questions her about her criteria for choosing her date. It turns out that all those who don't have a profile picture like her are selected by her. The expression in his eyes says that he might have some feelings for her. Later that night, Alfaz got a call from an unknown number. He attends it to find Archana online. She is angry at him because he was supposed to be her blind date and never came. Not knowing anything about what she is saying, he looks towards Priyanka, thinking that she might have orchestrated something. But soon it is revealed that Archana accidentally called the wrong number. She apologizes, not knowing that this is going to be the best mistake of her life. After talking for a few moments with him, she ends the call and saves the number as Mr. Coincidence in her phone. A few moments later, the blind date, Tony Baby, arrives. He looks like a drunk man with anger issues, but Arcana smiles. It turns out that he only dates girls named Archie, and since her name is Archie on the dating app, he came. He asks if he can call her names, thinking about his ex. As he starts calling her names, she gets furious, throws water on his face, and leaves. She then heads over to Apu's place, who is drinking, and gets a drink for herself. The weight of another terrible experience hangs heavily on her shoulders, casting a shadow over her mood. Noticing her distress, Apu remarks that things might have been different if she had chosen to be with him, though he's painfully aware of his own worth in her eyes. She gently rebuts that he never directly asked her. Inspired by her candidness, Apu confesses his feelings for her, but just as she's about to respond, he starts sneezing uncontrollably, and she bursts into a fit of laughter. The both of them then head out to a club to party, and there they plug in their headphones and dance to their own songs, tuning the world out. The symphony and chemistry between the two of them are visible. On the other hand, Alphaz lies awake in his bed. The next morning, on the other side of the country, surrounded by the mountains, Chavi wakes up. She picks up her bag and rushes out to meet someone. She pours 2 glasses of wine and hands the other person a glass. Back in Kolkata, Arcana wakes up to find her mom having tea. She sits down and is later joined by Apu. It turns out that he stayed the night at her place, even though nothing happened between the two of them. Arcana's mom, Aruna Pradhan, jokes that she hopes Apu's mom won't freak out. It turns out that he lied, saying that he was at the shoot all night. After having their meal, the two of them head out to a cafe to work. While sitting there, she sent a little poetry to Mr. Coincidence, unaware that she was actually texting her favorite radio jockey, Alphaz. Upon receiving her message, he immediately calls, curious about her identity. She chuckles and teases him, asking why he always poses the same question. Alphaz, still perplexed, doesn't remember their conversation from the other day. Suddenly, the call drops due to network issues. They both try to reconnect, but their simultaneous attempts result in a frustrating series of missed connections. With a sigh, they each return to their work, their curiosity lingering. As she gets back, a man ogles her, and Apu comes and sits in front of her to protect her. Instead of appreciating him, she gets angry because she is no damsel in distress that needs saving. Later that night, Alphaz can be seen at the tea stall, asking the elderly owner about his health. The encounter shows his kind nature. The next day at work, Arcana tries to coax Apu into going to a restaurant with her, but he's completely absorbed in his tasks, driven by the promise of a guaranteed promotion. Just as she's about to give up, life takes an unexpected twist, with the arrival of a new employee, who is none other than Tony Baby. As soon as she lays eyes on him, a dark shadow flickers across her face, hinting at a past that suddenly come rushing back. Later that day, Tony is out smoking a cigarette when Arcana approaches him, apologizing for her behavior the other day. He also apologizes, saying that he too went too far. Sensing his sadness, she offers to take her to lunch the next day. After lunch, Tony and Arcana spot some workers taking slabs of ice out of a truck, and their minds spark with an idea for a meme. In the meeting, the next day, their boss appreciates the meme, with the caption, "Summer is coming," a reference to the famous TV show Game of Thrones. Upon knowing that Arcana worked with Tony, she infuriates Apu, and he leaves angry. She runs after him, but he doesn't listen. Later, when Tony congratulates her, she gets furious and says that she never asked for credits. Later that night, she tries reaching out to Apu, but her calls go unanswered. Unsure of what to do next, she messages Mr. Coincidence. They engage in a lighthearted conversation, and she playfully asks if she'll be calling him Mr. Coincidence forever. He chuckles and inquires about her recent date. She sighs, confesses that her blind date has ruined her friendship with her best friend, and asks for his advice. He advises her to first correct her relationship with herself, start living for herself, let everything go, and after that, think of others. After the conversation ends, they both keep thinking about the other. The next day, at the meeting, Arcana's boss reveals that he got everyone's submission the last night, and the best of them all is the one submitted by Apu. Arcana excitedly bumps Apu's shoulder, but his face remains expressionless. All the happiness that Arcana was feeling vanishes when she sees that the memes Apu has submitted were her idea. She looks at him shocked, but he never meets her eyes. As the whole meeting room bursts into applause, Arcana sits there heartbroken. She leaves the office crying. On the other hand, Alphaz is in his room, packing his work bag, when he gets a phone from his friend informing his arrival. He goes out to meet his friend, and this is when his dog Casper runs after him, only to be hit by a car. The scene shifts to a very sad Alphaz, sitting with Priyanka in a cafe, who tries to console him by saying that Casper will get well soon. This is when he reveals that his friend Chavi has a pet called Casper. Priyanka is surprised to hear the name of a girl from his mouth, since it is the first time he has ever said anything about having a friend. There is a tang of jealousy in her voice, as she calls Chavi a special person. With a sad smile, he admits that she was the person with whom he had his first ever glass of wine when they were 16. It becomes clear that Chavi is a significant figure from Alphaz's past, someone who left a lasting impression on his heart. They are engaged in a conversation when someone catches her eye. A college fellow of hers, Inder, is at a table nearby. Alphaz encourages her to go talk to him, and she goes, leaving him alone. Fate takes an interesting turn, and it is revealed that Arcana is also at the same cafe. Saddened by the day's events, she messages Alphaz, still unaware of the fact that the person she is texting is her idol. Upon receiving her message, a smile spreads on his face. She tells him that she has finally let go of everything, and now she finds herself drinking alone, without a friend or a job. Alphaz chuckles at the similarity of their situations, as he, too, is drinking alone. She complains about the poor service at the cafe, mentioning that there is only a single waiter, and he too is only attending to a loser, not realizing that the loser is the very person she is talking to. Amused, he replies that the waiter at his place is incredibly attentive. Their conversation continues, bringing smiles to both of their faces. She then tells him the story of her first date. When she was in the 12th grade, her friend set her up with a boy, but when he saw her, he ran without saying a word. Later, she realized it was because of her skin condition. He found her unattractive, and the date was actually a prank on the boy, and they all laughed about it later. She confesses that on that day, her skin condition felt like it was burning, and no one understood how heartbroken she was. She drank the whole night, marking the beginning of her journey with blind dates. Some of her dates were shocked, while others were brave enough to spend some time with her. Now, she gets the first laugh. But after what happened today, she feels like she is back at square one. He responds, saying that she was always at the starting point, and looking back to her childhood memories might help her find something that will be worth going for, just as he eats a jelly bean whenever he feels down. Alphaz and Arcana go back to their respective houses, the conversation they had echoing in their minds. As Arcana is about to drift into sleep, her mom arrives to check on her. She sighs at Arcana's stubbornness about drinking and tells her the story of how she was a stubborn child and once injured her foot because of not wearing any shoes, but still didn't wear the shoes, and now, after growing up, she lost her childish behavior. The scene then shifts to Chavi, who wakes up in her bed with a dog lying beside her on the floor. Later, Alphaz can be seen standing beside the Hooghly River, lost in deep thoughts. On the other hand, Arcana wakes up and heads out for a walk in the park with her mom, barefoot. This is when she finds out that her mom ran away from her home in college to be with a boy, who wasn't Arcana's dad, and that Arcana's dad is in fact Aruna's second husband. Arcana is shocked at this revelation, and encourages her mom to keep going. Aruna tells the story of her first love, her first marriage, and that after 2 years of marriage, she betrayed her first husband to be with Arcana's dad. Instead of judging her mom, Arcana has a great laugh with her. However, the discussion about her father makes Aruna sad, and it is revealed that the marriage didn't last long, and they both went their separate ways. Sensing the conversation drifting towards sadness, Aruna gently shifts the topic by asking Arcana what her plans are now that she has left her job. Arcana smiles brightly and responds that she's going to use WhatsApp to her advantage. Later, after coming back home, Aruna rushes in for a quick shower, but Arcana takes out her laptop and starts working. She searches for facts on the internet and starts sending them on WhatsApp. The day turns to night, but her messages don't go viral. As she is sitting there, disappointed, her doorbell rings. She opens the door to find Apu waiting outside. They both go out on a walk, and he tries to explain his case, saying that he got jealous seeing her with Tony. But she is in no mood for excuses and tells him that it's not his theft of her ideas that hurt her. It's the fact that he thought she betrayed him by working with Tony. He apologizes, saying that they should have taken their friendship to another level. He hasn't been able to think straight because of these blinding feelings. However, Arcana firmly clarifies that while he is a very special and important person in her life, he is not the one for her, and she would prefer if they remained friends. Relieved that she has forgiven him, he hugs her tightly because he cannot afford to lose her. They then head out for a few drinks, and she shares her idea of utilizing WhatsApp for her benefit. He isn't thrilled about it, arguing that even if her messages went viral, no one would care who wrote them. But she is content with the prospect of her messages going viral and isn't seeking any fame from it, another similarity with Alphaz. Seeing the determination in her eyes, Apu smiles and promises to support her until the end. Later at night, Arcana goes through some of her old sketches, and they give her a new motivation. She takes a sketch of a turtle, adds a few lines from Alphaz's show next to it, and sends it on the internet. The next morning, Arcana wakes up to the sound of her phone beeping with notifications. She unlocks it to find that her creation from last night has indeed gone viral. She runs out to share the good news with her mom, and they both squeal with excitement. Now knowing what might help her work get noticed, she starts creating with more enthusiasm. Listening to old recordings of Alphaz's show, she starts adding the lines to her turtle. On the other hand, Alphaz is lying on his bed when he gets a message from a colleague, informing him that his words are now viral on WhatsApp. He is shocked at this and rushes to his office. Once in his office, he asks Priyanka for her help in finding out who is creating and circulating these. She says that they can try, but there is no point in trying. Seeing him furious, she is shocked, and questions why when he never claimed ownership of his poems. Why is he getting upset now? But he never answers. Feeling lost, Alphaz heads home, takes out his phone, and calls Arcana. She answers on the first ring, thanking him for being the driving force behind her decision to follow her passion. He is happy to be of her service and asks what she does for a living. She gets excited at the mention of her work and starts telling him everything about it. This is when he finds out that she is the one who has been spreading his word. Instead of getting angry, he asks her the reason for using these specific words. She smiles and explains that the words deserve to go viral. Since not many people listen to the radio these days, she felt it was her duty to spread the message in the form of memes. Unaware that she is talking to RJ Alphaz, she starts passionately talking about his show, calling it her favorite thing in the whole world. Curious about the turtle in her memes, he asks her about it. Smiling sheepishly, she admits that the turtle is her interpretation of RJ Alphaz, symbolizing that he is down to earth, yet has a mind that soars to the highest heights. She confesses that she wants to uncover the secrets buried deep within Alphaz, but knows it might not be possible. After they end the call, tears well up in his eyes, moved by the connection they share without her even knowing his true identity. The next day, Alphaz informs Priyanka about his discovery, and is shocked at the fact that Arcana never even met him, but her talks about him were like she had known him for centuries. He is shaken to his core, and Priyanka is surprised that Alphaz didn't admit his real identity to Arcana. Later, as Arcana is busy setting up her wardrobe, she gets a call from her Mr. Coincidence. When she asks about his name, he lies and says that his name is Abhimanyu. He then goes on and tells her that he listened to Alphaz's show the other night. She sighs and tells him to never mention another boy when talking to a girl. He laughs at this, but she ends the call saying she needs to work. That night, as Arcana works, she receives a new notification from a dating app. Instead of feeling excited, she uninstalls the app. Just then, another notification pops up, this time making her laugh. Someone has taken her designs and added funny jokes next to them. She laughs and calls Alphaz to share the news with him. Not willing to reveal his identity yet, he questions what Alphaz would think if he saw his words turned into memes like this. Arcana sighs, and admits she thought about it too, but the thought of Alphaz gave her the courage to brush off these jokes. She describes Alphaz as a man who quietly changes lives without revealing his identity, and she strongly believes that someone like him wouldn't be affected by such memes. Alphaz sighs, indicating he needs to go, as Priyanka signals it's time for him to go live. Assuming he's going to bed, Arcana playfully tells him to turn off the lights and get some rest. To her surprise, he confesses that he can never sleep with the lights off. Arcana sighs and insists he should try sleeping with the lights off before ending the call. The next day, Alphaz messages Arcana that she is right. No one can cage their emotions and ideas. A smile lights up her face. The two of them fall into a new rhythm of life, doing their tasks during the day and talking to each other during the night. This is due to the motivation given by him, that Arcana, for the first time in a long time, goes out with a scarf hiding the patches on her face. One day, as everyone is tuned to listen to Kuch Pige Alphaz, he narrates a story of how a woman got a second chance to admit her love to her husband. After the story ends, he advises everyone to confess their love before it is too late. Every listener smiles at his message, not knowing that someone special has touched his heart. That night, Alphaz sleeps with lights turned off, with a smile plastered on his face and a romantic song playing in the background. The next day, he wakes up from a call from Arcana. She is happy because she felt that Alphaz saw her memes and they caused him happiness. He laughs and agrees with her. That day on call, she tells him that for the first 8 years of her life, She was like any normal girl, but one day her life turned upside down with a small patch on her body. She then laughs to lighten the situation and thanks him for listening to her story. Alphaz smiles and tells her that he knows how she has been her entire life, but he knows that anyone who truly loves her will accept her the way she is. His words make her smile. She offers to meet at a restaurant and challenges him to find her. She then dresses up and heads out to meet him, but never gets to her destination. The scene then switches to Chavi, sitting outside a basketball court, seeing boys play. Later, Alphaz can be seen sitting in his bed when he gets a call from Arcana. She apologizes for not turning up today, saying that she met someone who made her realize that maybe she is not on the right path. She admits that she has no clue about who Alphaz is, but every time she talks to him, she feels just like Alphaz to him. She apologizes and asks for some space to sort out his thoughts and feelings, to know if she is falling for him or the idea of Alphaz. She sighs, unaware of the fact that she is in fact talking to Alphaz. Upon hearing her words, something breaks inside him. Sensing his hesitation, Arcana pushes him to let go of whatever he is feeling and to free himself. This is when Alphaz tells his story. They were 16, he and Chavi, and they used to live in Shimla, India. She was stunningly beautiful, but one day she approached him while he was playing basketball, visibly scared. It turned out she was pregnant. While telling his own story, Alphaz sighs deeply, tears streaming down his face, but Arcana listens silently, offering her quiet support. He continues, explaining that when Chavi came to him, he didn't listen, absorbed in his game. The next day, he woke up with a foreboding sense of something amiss. At school, he felt everyone's eyes on him as he walked deeper inside, only to discover Chavi being loaded into an ambulance, gone forever. Losing her turned his life into a nightmare. He was summoned to the principal's office where his father awaited. They were informed that a clerk had taken responsibility for getting Chavi pregnant. But he kept sitting there in stunned silence. Not knowing what to do, he ran away from everything. As he breaks down, Arcana gently suggests that he should visit Shimla. Later, Apu arrives to take Arcana to meet her ex-boss. He informs her that Apu told him that he stole her idea, and that the meme going viral is also her creation. He comments that she should have done this while staying at the company, but she claps back, saying that if she had stayed at her job, she would never have made it. Ignoring her jab, he tells her that an apparel company wants to collaborate with them, and they wanted the designs to match Arcana's turtle, and in return, they would get 30% of the revenue generated, and out of that 10% would go to her. Smiling kindly, she gets up and leaves. Motivated by all the things happening in her life, she finally finds the courage to go meet Alphaz, still unaware that he is the very same person she talks to daily. She gets to his office, only to find that he is out of town. On the other hand, Alphaz goes back to Shimla to confront the demons of his past. Visiting Chavi's house, he encounters her father and their dog sitting on the porch. As he approaches, Chavi's father reacts with a slap, overwhelmed by his own grief and anger. Alphaz, flooded with emotions, sinks down against the wall. Her father leaves him there, goes inside, and comes back with Chavi's diary of compositions. He sits down next to Alphaz and starts reading aloud her heartfelt words written for him. Each line hits Alphaz like a devastating blow, reducing him to tears as he leans his head on her father's shoulder. After spending several days there, finding the closure he desperately needed, he returns home. As Arcana is sitting in her room, her radio tuned, a smile spreads on her face upon hearing Alphaz's voice after days. Her surprise grows when she realizes he's not narrating a story, but sharing his own thoughts. Her smile widens as she hears him discuss anonymous artists and the joy they bring to their audiences. This is the moment her thoughts solidify, and she is sure that the person she has been talking to is indeed Alphaz. After the show ends, he messages Arcana, asking her to meet. Playfully feigning anger, she accuses him of lying to her. He laughs, admitting he never denied being Alphaz. The next day she dresses up in a really cute dress and eagerly runs out to meet her Mr. Coincidence, her Alphaz. On the other hand, Alphaz can also be seen going to their meeting place, with a broad smile lighting up his face. The movie concludes with Alphaz and Arcana sitting side by side. In a heartfelt poetic confession, Alphaz expresses his deep feelings for her. Touched by his words, Arcana takes his hands in hers, holding them tightly, and promises to always be by his side, never to leave him.